I am Tara Jaramillo, and this is my podcast called The Monster Within. This podcast is based off of my experiences in being married to a narcissist and surviving domestic violence abuse. Please note and take care that the subject matter that I discuss may be triggering. I am dedicated to do this podcast in hopes of bringing awareness to abuse, domestic violence, and narcissistic behavior, in hopes that maybe I save someone's life. Looking back, I can understand how I was so easily manipulated and probably fell into this narcissistic love bombing manipulation. But it's hard to say that looking back and just feel like a fool. I feel like I should have known better. At the time in my life, I was 27 when Juan and I started dating, and it just felt like he was everything I wanted. I felt like I was behind in life. My friends and my cousins, they were all getting married and starting families, and I just felt like I've always felt like the black sheep in my family. I've never felt that I was good enough. I've always felt people putting me down. I come from a household where, for my parents, I've always had to fill their cup and their needs, and I always had to make them happy. I had to be a people pleaser, and I always had to do what they wanted me to do. And if I didn't, I would get the quiet, silent treatment or the passive aggressive. And it was just me. I'm just the only child. So that is very hard to deal with. My mother is German, so she had some very strict ways about her, which were it's still very difficult to this day. We don't always see eye to eye, but it was very hard being in my household. I had always felt like I had to be perfect, that I could make no wrong decisions, and I certainly couldn't have any ideas of my own. Like makeup and getting your hair done and your nails seemed like vanity and was frowned upon. Later on in life, I got tattoos, and my mother was very disgusted with me. And so it kind of hurt a lot. I was trying to step on those eggshells and make her happy. And that was probably the right combination for Juan coming in my life, because at the time I had no prospects. I wanted to have a family. I was ready to settle down. I was working. And I'm not a very outgoing person per se. I'm comfortable with a small group. I definitely have never been a very pretty person. So self-confidence and esteem issues were definitely there. And now looking back, it was just the perfect storm for him. We worked together as X-ray techs for a while. He was my student. What a scandal. But he was very smart, very capturing. He always had this laugh that just filled the room. The one thing that I noticed right away, and now near the end of our marriage really became the catalyst, was that he would treat a lot of people different, or how people viewed him was very on the spectrum. There was no one verdict on he was really nice or he was really not nice. Most people didn't really like him or kind of stayed away, but there's a few people that just adored him. And looking back now, I think that was a sign of him trying to win over people as well, especially people that he thought could give them something or give him something. And we had a fun relationship. I really, looking back, is so hard because this person was so caring and so kind, and or at least I thought he was. And we had so much fun. Drinking, he did drink a lot. Looking back, that definitely should have been a red flag, but it was under control, right? And when you're younger, you think, oh, everyone is, we're going to a concert or we're out at the lake. It's such a normal thing in our culture, but it's until later that it really rears its ugly head. And I wish I would have really taken that in. Now at my elder age, I see it so much different, and I see it play out a lot differently than in my younger years. One of the hardest things too is my parents were really disappointed and disgusted that I dated Juan and ultimately married him. They didn't like him. I think they were embarrassed that I married someone like him, and they couldn't understand why I would be with someone like him. And my dad made the comment one time, like, yeah, I hope he's not beating you up, and like walked away. And I was like, what is he talking about? Like, I've never been hit by one or anything. And part of me wonders if that's foreshadowing, but it was, 5, 6 years before an incident like that ever occurred. And I just felt surprised at how my parents were. It just seemed like they were disappointed. And I so badly wanted their approval, which sounds so sad, but after how I lived with them, it was very difficult. And Juan was so different than anything or anyone I've ever met. He was fun. He was truly himself. And I just loved that he could make me laugh, and we would sing and drive and enjoy concerts. Like, he was a ball of energy. And I love that he was so different. He's an outspoken man. He was loud, fun, and I wished that my parents would see what I saw in him, and trying to be that middle person, trying to like bring them both together to be like, hey, you're both good people. Like, and looking back, I don't think that was my role. I should have really stepped back. So again, I blame myself for how this has gone and how my role in it has been, because I don't think I've seen every red flag or I blew past them. And I think I was just really at a hard place in my life then. I really thought I should have been somewhere that I was not. Juan and I start dating at the end of 2013, kind of going into 2014. We actually, probably at one of our first kind of dating as a couple, was a New Year's Eve party in Lac Flambeau, Wisconsin, over at the casino. It was a great night. It was so much fun. And that's what I remember too, is just, he is not much of a dancer, but he came out and he did like the little penguin shuffle, and we just had so much fun, and we giggled and we laughed. And what I enjoyed was that we were together and we did a lot of things and we liked the same things. And in the beginning, he seemed to really care about me. He always gave me hugs, kissed me. It seemed like he wanted to spend time with me. And we felt the same way, where we just wanted to be together. And it was a fast romance. He moved in within 3 months into my apartment, and we had a good time. We had a lot of good moments. Sometimes I looked back and I was like, should we be moving this soon? But it felt right. And at the time, I maybe should have took a closer look. And we were working together as x-ray techs at this Rhinelander hospital. And around November of 2014, he was offered a job in Baraboo. It was going to be part-time x-ray, part-time lab. And he said he was leaving. And I said, well, I was really sad. And his mom goes, well, what's your expectation, or what's your intentions with my boy? And I said, I don't know. You and I are sitting at the dinner table, both finding out that he just accepted this job. And so I said, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And so a week went by, and I started looking and applying for jobs in southern Wisconsin. And I was like, I can't live without him. Like, I can't. So I called him up one day and I said, I can't leave without you. I can't live. I can't. You're going to take all my stuff and you're going to go to Baraboo with it. And he said, what? He was just planning on packing a suitcase and going. And I said, no, you're taking all my stuff. I want you to take it. And I was nervous, but I was really excited. And it, again, felt right, felt like the right thing to do. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, I was down there. I had a job offer as well at Stoughton Hospital, and that was about an hour from Baraboo. So I was going to make it work. And I remember my dad on the phone call, he goes, well, aren't you nervous sending all the stuff, that all your furniture and all your belongings that you own? Aren't you nervous to be giving that to your boyfriend? And I said, no. I'm really excited. I love him. I'm ready to go. I'm not worried about it. And my dad said, well, if I were you, I'd rethink it. And I was kind of disappointed. It's one thing to not agree with how I felt, but I felt like, could you support me? And we didn't really talk about it after that. My dad and I just kind of left it. And soon enough, I was down in Baraboo with Juan. And I remember like driving there and, moving in that first night. And I just said to him, like, oh my gosh, I hope you truly do love me how I think I love you. And I just was like, oh gosh, a little nervous. Now the nerves hit after I'd been there. And he pulled out a ring box and he asked me to marry him. And I was just so surprised. This man got this job and he already bought a ring for me. So I felt really surprised and excited, and it felt right. It felt good. We had a lot of fun.